Will the gentleman yield for questions, or do we need an extension of
Will the
time?
gentleman yield for questions?
I will.
Gentleman yields.
I got confused. Are we talking about fiction in the library, or are we talking about all books in the library?
We're talking about any books that contain sexually explicit content in the minor section of the library.
And per your definition, minor means under the age of 18.
That is correct.
So we're not talking about kids under 5. We're not talking about kids under 12. Minor is anybody from birth to the age of 18 per your definition.
That is correct, Representative
You
Johnson.
have created definitions of sexual conduct, correct?
That is correct.
What is Section D, sexual bestiality, mean?
Do you want to describe that for me?
Yeah, I know. I would actually like you are the bill author. You have put this in. What does sexual bestiality mean?
I know. But, yeah. I mean, to put it clearly, you know, if you want me to describe sexual relations with an animal, you know, that's what that reference is. So,
I'm sorry, I got interrupted. What does sexual bestiality mean?
that would refer to sexual relations with an animal.
Okay, what about sadomasochistic abuse? Wait a minute. Look, everybody's now saying we have kids on the floor.
We do.
All right, well, how do we honestly have a discussion about something that you want to put into definition and you want to impose on a public library? So let's just have this point. You have put
Ms.
these-
Johnson.
Hold on, Representative Alders. Masturbation. Do we know what that is?
We do. Ms. Johnson, I would suggest that you're proving my point.
Say it again, I'm sorry.
I would suggest you're proving my point.
No.
There are children on this floor, and there are children in the gallery, and children can watch this, and you want to put it out in front of them on the record. That's fine.
You put this on the floor, not me.
I am
you put this on the
suggesting
floor.
all of.
And you're suggesting the ignorance around a topic without having a legitimate public policy debate. And I would
I'm
suggest to
suggesting
you,
ignorance on the topic.
yeah, are you really suggesting that a book that explains to a teenage boy who's lost his father what masturbation means shouldn't be in a public library?
Did you read the bill?
I did.
It does not say anywhere that it shouldn't be in a public library. It says it shouldn't belong in the minor section.
And your definition of minor is under the age of 18.
That is correct. That's the legal definition of a minor. You can take that up with the federal government, I guess, but I don't. It's not. This bill is not addressing that.
Doesn't a public library have different sections of the library?
It absolutely does.
But you're not only redefining what they can do, but you're imposing a civil penalty on every public library. You're not differentiating between pornography or something inappropriate. You have included in this definition of some which you don't like the words I read that you brought to this body in public with something that is basic teenage health.
This is not basic teenage health, Ms.
Masturbation
Johnson.
is not basic teenage health. Do you really, as a young man,
No,
want to
I do
describe
not.
to me when you needed to learn about that?
Please ask the question again.
Yeah. I'm trying to separate out the flag waving.
Gentleman's time has expired.
May we have an extension of time?
Members, you've heard the motion. There is objection. Vote aye, vote no on the extension of time. Members, I'll give you time to get to your desk. The clerk will ring the bell. Division vote, I'm sorry. Strike the board. The gentleman's time is extended.
So, Representative Alders, my concern is, again, I didn't bring this legislation. You brought this legislation. You're attempting to not only impose civil penalties on public libraries, you're not only attempting to put more power in the Attorney General's office to enforce that, but you have created a definition, in my mind, that doesn't really intend to accomplish your goal. Because if your goal is to keep sexually explicit or deviant type of conduct of which you say you could never imagine appropriate for discussion, and I don't know how old you are, 20 or 30 years ago, but I would bet at some point you as a young man needed to have the discussion with somebody about what masturbation meant because your body at a young teenage age made you have to try to figure that out.
That wasn't a question I expected on the House floor.
Well, don't bring this kind of stuff to the House floor to warrant this
Ms.
kind
Johnson,
of debate, and you
Ms.
won't have to
Johnson.
answer these questions as the bill author.
Ms. Johnson,
The chair will admonish the members not to speak over each other.
I brought this legislation to the House floor to protect our kids. You are questioning me bringing this legislation to the House
I'm
floor.
questioning the manner in which you are conflating sexually explicit or dangerous conduct with basic health information for puberty, which hits people in their early teenage years. You're conflating the two. That's my
It sounds
concern.
like a great opportunity for a parent to give access to their child, to
What do you
get
do when
a
a
book
kid
off the shelf in the adult section and work through that education with their child when appropriate.
When did you get a puberty lesson in school? At what age? And were you provided?
I would like
a
us
book?
to stay on the bill, Ms. Johnson.
This is about the bill.
This is not about the bill. This is
You're
about
talking about education.
I would suggest that this is about your desire to ensure our children have access to sexually explicit material
Really?
in our public
Representative
libraries.
Alders, do you know what I have done for a living?
Yes,
What have I done for a living?
defend kids.
Do you know that I'm the former chief human trafficking prosecutor in Harris County? Do you know I'm one of the only people in this room that has actually gone to bat for this population in trying to make sure that kids are protected from sexually explicit conduct and abuse?
Ms. Johnson, I would suggest that this bill will help you.
Representative Alders, you should know your audience. I care very much about good public policy and protecting kids from sexual exploitation.
Good.
What you are doing is attempting just to get a nice campaign moment with everybody sitting there to suggest that I'm asking for something different, and I'm telling you, defining something under the age of 18, defining a term of which is a normal puberty condition that any teenage child may need to have information. If we as a nation can't allow a public library to have basic health, I'm not talking about these other definitions of which you didn't want to define and you weren't prepared to talk about in this public setting. I'm talking about basic puberty and public health that is trapped up in your extremely broad attempt to get your moment at the mic.
Mr. Dutton, for what purpose?
Will the gentleman yield for a
Will
question?
the gentleman yield for